My biggest skill set that I think I have with Schoology is in my role, and that is that teachers can learn too. And we know that teachers are always learning, they're always growing, and they're always, attending professional development. But have you thought about the fact that this can actually be done through Schoology? So that's today's kind of premise, and what we'll discuss is how that would look for you in your role to be able to provide PD for teachers through Schoology. So just a little bit about me. My name is Dani Patterson, and I'm the Director of Digital Learning and Innovation here at Copperas Cove ISD in Copperas Cove, Texas. We are next to the largest military installment in the world, Fort Hood. So I'm very grateful to be here. I have 14 years in education, and 6 years of that is Schoology usage. And I've actually been a Schoology ambassador, champion for, I don't know, like 4 years now. So I'm definitely enjoying my time and my process and learning and building a community of other people who love Schoology just as much as I do. So this is my Twitter handle. Probably the fastest way to reach me is to tweet me, and I can always respond quickly back. I love to collaborate with other educators. So that's EdTech Dani, and I hope we can connect. So what is it that I'm going to talk about? Well, first, before we go on, I always like to define what I believe as a presenter, what virtual professional development is. Then we'll move on to what does it look like? I'm a very visual person, so I like to really show you what it is, kind of like when we unpack, we look at the end in mind. So I'd like for you to kind of see, what does that look like? How do we assess the effectiveness? In my role, that's one of my big questions I always want to ask. This is great and great, but how do we measure that what we're doing is actually effective? How do we create professional learning virtually? So the how do we do this? I see what you're saying. Now show me, how do I do this myself? And then what is an example of some high quality learning through Schoology? I'm not doing an advertisement, but I definitely have a product that I strive for whenever I build my own PD. And so then what are the benefits? Why would I want to do my professional learning through Schoology or virtually? So let's get started. I'm excited to share. So what does Dani Patterson think virtual professional development is? Well, I think it's just providing professional learning using an online platform. Think Schoology. So this learning could be blended, where you are face-to-face in a PD and you've brought your laptops or iPads or devices and you're working seamlessly, face-to-face work, collaborative work, and then independently on a computer, or even collaboratively on the computer, or who knows, even whole group on the computer. But just like blended learning in your classroom, you're blending kind of the PD when you guys are all together in a room or a brick and mortar building. So learning could also be synchronous, meaning you guys are on Zoom and you're using Schoology to house all the training materials. I've been in many online trainings, and they are always shooting out links to Bitly or links to Google or links to this, which is fine. I have no problem against them. But think about if you just had that course created with everything that they needed. You wouldn't have to worry about, here's another link and here's another link. So, and then asynchronously, just like in the classroom, self-paced, they move at the pace they feel most comfortable in. So these are words that you probably are familiar with based off of digital learning in general. But now we're going to look at it in a different lens and how you can provide virtual professional development through the use of Schoology in those three types of learnings. So again, I'm very visual. So what does virtual professional learning look like? I just want to showcase this course to start us off. It's a great course. It's not one of my best, and it's definitely not one of my worst. It's probably like right there in the middle. But we all are familiar with the First Days of School book that we read. And it's such a great book. Well, it's hard to have PDs over the first days of schools because you have all the other PDs that come up. Like we want to do our normal RLA training or math strategies or STAR, or the bloodborne pathogens trainings that you have to do. And so these are trainings that usually get kind of pushed to the side, or maybe if a teacher needs it as growth because they're not growing as much as you would like their first year of teaching. This was a great training that you would typically do face-to-face. But in this example, I thought I would show you how we could take the training and flip it to this virtual professional learning. So this is a typical Schoology course that we are all familiar with. And as you can see in each of my folders, I have chunked the whole book by their little units. And inside of the units are the different chapters. So as you can see, unit 1 is just kind of basic understandings. And then there's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, 4, and 5. So in each one of those folders, you will locate the different chapters. So once you open it up, it tells you you need to go read chapter 2 first. So think of it as a book study. You're reading your chapter. You come back to the course after you're done reading to participate in the activities below. So like, let's discuss. I always love a discussion because how I read a chapter might be different than how you read it. But because I love to hear what other people have to say, I get to hear your perspective and I could reply and like it and comment. And then I had a fun activity using Padlet because it embeds beautifully into Schoology. And then here's a challenge. I want you to grab a sticky note, make a list of small changes you would like to approve. You're going to take a picture of it, and then you're going to upload it into the media album. How cool is that going to be whenever you get to see what everyone, their small changes are going to be? And then there's always like some type of reflection piece in each folder. Here's another example. It didn't go as many activities. There's a planning document where I used Office 365. So it's embedded nicely. They don't have to open another link. And I keep the copy of it so I can always check back on them. And then I took just a quick true or false. Let's see if you actually read the chapter, which again, just like as a teacher, you can go back and see, are my people really reading the book? Are they actually like gaining the information I want them to? You can actually go in and check. And trust me, that's my favorite part whenever I see that they took a test 4 times. I don't think they read that chapter in the book. So again, this is just a really kind of, to me, like a middle of the road, probably would be asynchronously. You could do this in groups or in my way during the times of COVID, maybe their mentor teacher would sit with them after they've read the chapter and together they've worked on these is kind of where I was headed with the training. But again, you can add them as needed. You don't have to worry about making a special day for this training. Let's talk about something even simpler. So I showed you a middle of the road. Let's look at something super simple. So we are working on the science of reading here at our district. It's been rolled out this school year. And one of the requests was, okay, how do I take all of this literacy components and turn it into technology? So this was an after school special is what we call them, where we provided training face-to-face. But instead of here's a link to Book Creator, here's a Schoology assessment, here's a link to a Padlet, we put together the folders with all the links that they needed for that training face-to-face. So we did like an introduction. We let them go into and kind of play and participate like a student. Then we pulled them back, and then you see the folder that says training materials. That's where our PowerPoint was. That's where our videos and our Schoology help documents on how we created those stations virtually and digitally. So even though most of the work was done in the face-to-face part, we kind of used Schoology to house the training. Not only that, but a couple of weeks from now, when they actually get ready to turn their stations kind of techie, they may forget, oh man, how was it? What was that site Dani told me? They can easily email me and say, hey, Dani, what was that site? Or they can come in and see how we modeled it for them and how we used it in this example, and it'll help them, again, remember those trainings and begin creating one on their own. So again, this is very basic. Those courses can stay in there as long as you, the system admin, set it up to be. And then sometimes after you get so many courses, sometimes you kind of want to leave them. It's really easy just to request to be removed.